Amit Mahawar, Associate Director of Institutional Equities with Edelweiss Securities. Amit, hi, thank you for joining us on ET Now. The reason we decided that we should have this conversation is because L&T is delivering its second quarter numbers, and it's, as always, the eye is going to be on the order book because that's very important, and also the guidance, because it sort of is a depictor, a very close depictor of what the state of the Indian economy is. And if we look at the scenario currently, your GDP growth is growing only at 5%. The other macroeconomic indicators as well are not looking that good. So in such a macroeconomic setup, what is it looking like for L&T? I mean, could the second quarter numbers depict the state of the economy?
So I think if you realize last two quarters after the elections, in Q1 they had a very strong order intake recovery after a very bad Q4 where the order intake dropped by around 18% YOY. But I think Q1 was good, and I think even in Q2 we expect L&T to report around a double-digit order intake growth, and that's coming from both the focus on select large export geographies, Middle East, North Africa, etc. And also on the domestic side, they've been focusing on very specific infra verticals. So I think H1 for L&T to me looks like to be a recovery in terms of order intake, some recovery, and that's not what every company is showing, but L&T has been able to tap some large opportunities on the infra side. So I would say in Q2, at least on the order intake side, I think they seem to be better placed. We expect around 400 billion worth of standalone orders in terms of X services, which is a growth of around 10-11% versus last year. And remember, last year was a very heavy base. So on a very high base Q2, if they manage a double-digit growth in order intake, I would say that looks decent to me.
Okay. All right, so that's the second quarter. The other part is, of course, the guidance, which is, well, the street looks out for very closely, when the management later on addresses the media. Now, they had maintained order inflow guidance at, I think, 10 to 12 odd percent, and even revenue guidance was 12 to 15 odd percent for FY20. Do you think that they'll retain this guidance?
Tough for me to comment, but I think in terms of order intake, I'm pretty comfortable with whatever they've delivered this far, and I believe in towards the H2 you will see some recovery on the infra spend, which should help them. So yes, on the order intake side, I think they seem to be firmly placed. On the execution side, now L&T is a company which has started to focus on cash flows, on the return structure, and hence they don't chase revenue growth standalone. So they are more of a balanced strategy that they're following, wherein they've also demobilized from non-paying sites in the past, to focus on working capital. And hence I think, on the revenue side, if they fall short by 2-3%, but they manage their working capital well during the year, I would say that will be taken positively.
Okay, and Amit, after the second quarter numbers, I know you can't predict what, of course, the Q2 numbers are going to be like, but what are some important questions that need to be posed to the management as things stand right now for L&T?
I think 2-3 things here. States have been slowing down in terms of infra spend. So how is the company gearing up to compensate for state slowdown, at least in the near term? That's one thing to understand. I'm sure L&T is doing a lot to diversify its revenue base beyond the conventional Middle Eastern path.